Okay, good evening. I'm Bob Molsine, Superintendent of Schools. Thank you for joining us. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to introduce our facilities team. We do have some absences due to illness. Board members are Mike Belnick, Harney Richlicki, and Liz Dow. Our engineers are from Hunt is Shannon Davis. Project managers from Campus Construction is Kevin Donahue. Our business administrator, Jeremy Nardone. Middle high school principal, Dr. Chanel, and elementary principal, Mrs. Meyer. And we also have our buildings and grounds superintendent, Rich Ganito. So our project that we're going to discuss this evening has actually been talked about for a few years. In 2020, we put together a building condition survey, BCS, that we have to do by law. And from that, Hunt engineers identified a lot of work that the district would need to encompass and go after over the next several years. With that, we prioritized the work with numbers 1, 2, and 3. 3 being less priority, and 1 being basically a safety and security issue, things that we would have to address in this project. So for over the last 3 years, and we've been working on this project that will be presented to you this evening. Our goals that we developed as a Board of Education were to address the health and safety improvements in order to protect the community's investment in district facilities, replace aging infrastructure items that are nearing the end of their useful life, enhance educational spaces such as the science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, and also to prepare a project that addresses those goals, but in the most affordable manner. So with respect to the project, it's a $15,230,000. You can see here the scope and the respective buildings. This will actually have no additional tax impact. Up to speak about the elementary school will be Mrs. Actually, we start off with Shannon with site work.
Okay. I just have this one.
Yep.
Okay. So this is a site plan that focuses on scope related specifically to the elementary building. What we're looking at here is these areas in maroon. This is the front of the elementary building over here, and this is a roof that we're going to be replacing. And then all of this maroon over here is related to some asphalt replacement. We're taking right from the main road here all the way back, and then you'll see on a slide that's associated with the middle school, high school, we're going all the way back here to behind the middle school building. So all of this asphalt is going to be replaced to some amount of depth depending on how bad it is. And then in this area here, we've also got some sidewalk replacement and curbing replacement. Any questions? Okay. Down?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. Sure, I'll stay up here.
Okay, yeah, please. All right. So at the elementary school, to look inside our walls a little bit, we'll be touching some auditorium space. We'll be reconfiguring the main entrance and our office suite, so I will explain that to you in a moment. And then also right here is what we would consider kind of the old part of original part of the building, which is currently our library and an adjacent room that will be in a STEAM room or an innovation space is what I like to call it. So for the auditorium, it's really about that upkeep piece that Mr. Molisani spoke about in the beginning, some lighting replacement, ceiling replacement, and then some window shades. So truly some maintenance more in the auditorium space. And then some of this is again in the original part of the building. So if you've been in our library, it has some beautiful charm. It has old woodwork that we do intend to keep and keep that charm going, but also fuse it with a future ready space. And what does that mean? So you'll see over here, we'll have some storage and keep the integrity of the library, but also working into an extension here of a STEAM classroom or an innovation space. And I think there's another slide to go more detail, yes, in the pictures. So ideally, again, you see the old woodwork here for the library, just creating a really distinct learning spot right here for lessons, for skill lessons, for workshops, writing workshops, reading workshops. and a space to be able to house more students kind of in an academic manner, not just everybody on the floor gathering and reading, but also having a distinct learning space with tables and desks or chairs, whiteboard. But also being inviting. It's an elementary school, and we still want books all around the whole space, the whole room. And we certainly have the shelving space to do that, but getting some more in there. And then some flexible seating for our students. Enough that the kids won't fight over them. Okay, and this is the innovation space that we're talking about, a spot where we can have labs, work with robots, work with STEM and STEAM materials, work with art materials. There'll be 3 sinks there, plenty of storage, flat tops for some creative spaces, and again, very flexible, things on wheels, being able to move and have a collaborative space. Also, when we talk about the original spot of the elementary school, there aren't a lot of outlets, so one of the things is also to have it furnished with some electrical outlets so students can bring computers or recording systems, and we can have just a truly flexible space, different than a classroom, a spot that you would want to bring your whole class to, be able to set up a project for days on end and be able to work on it without having to take it down because you need room for all of the things in a general ed classroom. I should say too that this space could also house a STEAM program, which is something that we're looking to build in the walls of our school too. So something that really addresses science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Where do they do STEAM now? My son talks about STEAM.
Yeah, so
I don't know
in
where they
this
go.
space actually, but it's a classroom. So it's not meant to be like just that. We want it to be open so that they can work on projects, leave them there, and then go back to their classroom. Right now, our kindergarten and our first grade do have a STEM experience. And it's working out beautifully. So we would really like to continue to build that program for grades 2, 3, 4, and hopefully 5 if the schedule allows moving forward. This space would allow us to do that and almost treat this area like a special, like they go to library and gym and everything. So
Destination, right?
it is a destination where we can have things you'll see similar to a green screen, having that available for students. You know, I could see all of that occurring, a mini news show that our kids could have, or, you know, help participate in all the media pieces. They're very capable to do that, so giving them an environment where they can learn is key.
As Michelle mentioned, this room's attached to the library, so there'll actually be a retractable door that can open up and close to make it actually even a larger space.
Right over here, yeah. So this would be a nice spot. So if we do need to have these seats also part of the other space, we can. Also, an interesting conversation that we always have is this idea of melding kind of old and new and not making it look too modern, because I do think our building is so special in that way, and it does have a lot of charm. So not making it too modern where you're like, oh, this was just a fad, you know? But this is a spot where we should be able to grow future-ready kids no matter what the next thing is. So that's kind of the intention behind it, keeping it simple enough, but still like furnish it with all the things, especially outlets and electrical, and sinks, so storage. Anything else? Also for the entry, I didn't talk about that. Let me go really quick, back, right here to the main office area. Where are we here? Right here. To the main office area. We have a lot of guests that come into that vestibule. So if you're used to coming in and feeling kind of scrunched, we're going to extend that vestibule area so it's secure further down, almost to where our gym meets right now, so that we can accommodate more guests to come in, feel warm, feel welcome, but still stay secure. And then a door that will secure the second floor too from that vestibule area. So then you'll be greeted by our secretary with maybe 2 options for window drop-off, and then also a conference space that is very much lacking for us to meet with families or to have a gathering with a few teachers even. So it would be another conference, a conference room, which we don't have currently housed in that space too, along with our school resource officer and then principal and assistant principal as well. So there we go. Any questions about that part? I skipped kind of over it a little bit. Okay, thank you, Shane.
Thanks. Okay, so this slide over here is our asphalt-related scope to the middle school, high school building. So this is that area I mentioned before. We're coming from the main road all the way back in front of the district office. We're doing the old, well, the current middle school loop that's, you know, this isn't your main entry anymore. And then over at the high school level, we're doing this entire loop as well for asphalt replacement. Pretty simple. So Dr. Schinelli?
So I get to share a little bit about what's going to happen in this building in terms of the upgrade. So let's just start so that I don't miss the front office. We'll start with the front office on this slide. Thank you, Michelle. So you see the front office here. Similarly to what Michelle mentioned, we are now in this building a single point of entry. So when anyone comes to this building from the time school starts until the time school ends, we are all down on this other end. So in this renovation, you're actually going to see the kind of foyer area, we'll call it now, an open space where families will be able to come in through that first front door and just sort of join us in a warm, inviting area with seats to be able to wait for whoever it is you've come to visit. Our typical procedure is that when you show up on our campus, you don't actually come into this building until you've been greeted by the person you're coming to visit who escorts you someplace. So it's a little tight down there. So just trying to open that up a little bit so that when you do join us, you aren't feeling unwelcomed until someone can get to you. So a little bit of a change in the way that you feel coming through. It'll also add security features that you'll be buzzed into a conference room or buzzed into the actual school without necessarily being, or into the office without necessarily being all the way into the school. So just giving us a couple of layers of security before people fully enter into our space. You'll see here, this is our current technology room. So when we talk about STEAM and STEM, the big difference in this building is that this building actually has dedicated locations for being able to teach that kind of content. So what we're looking at is if there is money left in the budget, this is one of those priority 3s that Superintendent Malasani talked about. We might not get to that area. If we do, it would be minor renovations to that area just to create a little bit more of an inclusive space. The philosophy that you're going to feel inside even the pieces of the elementary school matching the high school is just this idea that spaces that are innovative and they're opened well and less about they belong to someone and more about they belong to us. And so innovation being something that, you know, when we get to the drawings of the library, I'll go into that a little bit more, but the idea that this space does not belong just to the librarian, but that we would be coming to this space to be able to tackle certain projects. So the library is here. This renovation is absolutely going to take place. And then you're going to see some auditorium renovations, and we will talk a little bit about boilers as we get over into these pieces. So let's start with the auditorium. This is actually kind of exciting. In the last project, we did have some auditorium work done. We did some lighting in there at the time. We did some rigging on the stage. This time coming through the auditorium, we've been waiting on this lighting control and sound booth that would be in the back. So when you come into our auditorium right now, you'll see that we have, let's call it like a makeshift sort of setup that was meant to be temporary. And we've been working very hard to get that into a priority budget. So this particular project should have that as the main priority in the auditorium. Once we get done with the lighting in that control booth and some sound upgrades, we are hoping to do a seating replacement, but that will depend on how favorable the bids come back. Everybody cross your fingers because I'm hoping for new seats. This is the library, so welcome to the space that we happen to be in while we're going to have this conversation. So really what we're going to try to do is take this entire floor plan, which if you're looking at the library all along that wall will actually open. There are several little rooms over there that we're going to open to create a larger space. You're also going to see this wall be removed and something similar to what will happen at the elementary school where a glass door basically that slides open and close that allows us to get some privacy over there while at the same time maintaining line of sight for supervision. The library on this far end will also host what we're calling an entrepreneur studio. So just to the other side of the library is actually where our career and technical education classes are being taught. So our hope is to actually have our kids creating businesses, using the high school technology wing to build some of their own things that they want to sell, and then giving them a point of sale right here in this library space. We're going to call this our Innovation Center. The concepts within the library for innovation really will be to take this library and create space to store books that you might not necessarily see. So unlike the elementary school where books will be in plenty, here you're going to feel more of a college level library where our books will be stored in stacks, which will also train the kids how to use stacks when they get to a larger library at the college level. This library will then be set up where teachers will find this to be a destination. If they are working on group work, I'm in my classroom and I'm doing my direct instruction, it makes sense for the kids to be in rows and columns, but when I really want them to do group work, I could see them ascending into this space to use these sort of breakout group spaces. These spaces will be a lot of technology where whatever the kids are working on, the teacher will actually be able to see that on the board. The library technology should allow the librarian or any teacher teaching in this space to take over all of those screens at any given time to be able to do direct instruction and then put the kids back out into their group work. So a lot of flexible seating, a lot of space for group and innovation, thoughtfulness. And then on this side, moving ourselves more into some of the digital versions of what we'd like to see in our labs. If you look behind you, we have some makeshift green screens that we use for our kids to be able to do morning announcements. This is actually going to give us much more production level quality inside of the Innovation Center. We also have a door that's going to connect the Innovation Center here over into our art classroom. So the kind of technology that will be running inside this space would also allow us to teach the digital arts without having to duplicate the technology that we're using. So again, trying to create spaces that are very innovative, but more driving you into the location to use the location itself and the technology that exists in that location instead of outfitting all of our classrooms with this level of technology. Budget.
Any questions to the high school? Okay, so regarding the budget, as I mentioned, it's $15,230,000. We project aid conservatively at 83%. We believe will be closer to 86 when it's all said and done. 17% of it is capital reserve. So in other words, we will take $2,750,000 from our reserves to pay for it. So there'll be absolutely no tax impact on the project. Yep. I did fix that. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. Regarding the timeline, the vote, as you see on a lot of the advertisement, is December 5th. So pending a positive referendum after the 5th, it will launch us into the design phase where Hunt and their engineers will come into the district, get with the user groups, get all the feedback, design the spaces out to meet all the needs. That's about a 6-month process. From there, it would put us into about June of 2024 to go into SED, where State Education Department, and that's where the project needs to get reviewed by the state and approved. It's basically achieving your permit. That again is a 5 to 6 month process. So in 2024 we'd be doing design and then the permit process with anticipation of being able to procure the project in early of 25. So that's in January to March of 2025 would be the public bid process where we secure prime contractors that'll actually construct the project. We do anticipate with the magnitude of the scope, the infiltration in the program space and things, it'll be about an 18-month project. So we anticipate starting in April of 2025, reaching substantial completion by the fall of 26, and then get final cost reports in by the end of the year so you can start generating that aid back to the district. So I just like to say, like, from a end of year 23 vote, you really won't see the progress and the finished product till the fall of 26. That's the timeline it takes to deliver from start to finish after the referendum.
Thank you, Kevin. So as I think it was Dr. Schnell mentioned, Tuesday, December 5th is the vote. 12 to 9 o'clock is at district office. Are there any questions? Yes.
About the elementary school windows, it's in the thing here, nobody mentioned that.
Yes, so the elementary windows, definitely in the 1937 wings, specifically the west side and then the south side, potentially all the way around, but in order to secure our bid, we're definitely bidding out the west side and the south side where much of our weather comes from. There will also, all those windows will be replaced.
That roof too.
And, yeah, the roof, that 37 wing is also.
The windows that are there now kind of
Yeah.
They are winding cranks,
Cranks,
so it's
yeah.
hard to keep screens in there, and it's also very difficult right now to shut completely closed in the winter time, so they
Yeah.
swell. they're-
Checking's a replacing one, just,
Yeah.
I thought about how historic they might be.
Yes,
So-
we've conducted that study.
So we are, nothing's off the table right now in terms of the historic nature of it. We have images of what the windows looked like when the school was first built, and it had all the divided lights in it. It's, you know, something we're investigating both from a design and a cost standpoint.
Would you not require, because there's no state.
We're not required to, because the last time they were replaced was in the eighties, and they obviously didn't replace to match the original, so we're not required to go back. But we'd
There
like
is
to
still a
consider it.
SHPO review
Okay,
process.
so there's
so
some historic stuff. The state cares about it?
We have to go
or-
through the
They,
process.
you still have to go through that SHPO process.
Okay.
But I was in contact with a representative, because if we have to meet the original, we want to know sooner rather than
Is
later.
it much divided light, yeah, how.
It's
these
a
are
big cost impact.
Divided light.
And visual.
Simulated or real?
So the things that we're studying is, as Michelle mentioned, their crank system, and cranks are broke, they don't close, or wood, they swell. We've looked at double hung. Right now our concern is the weight of those, because there's a register in front of you, and we're also looking at
Awning.
an awning window that would open up, allow air through, and it won't be nowhere near as heavy. So we're looking at all of those currently.
We're also, the current windows are all wood. We're not going to put solid wood windows back.
Yeah. So there's a lot of other bits and pieces of the projects. We just gave you a big picture, like there's, for example, the freight elevator that's in the elementary school, or excuse me, over to middle high school, that brings our foods and various supplies up and downstairs. That will be replaced. But you're looking at $100,000 items, and we didn't get that minute in the presentation.
I guess for my knowledge, there was a request for proposal from you guys at some point, and Hunt responded to it and got on board for
For
the project, I guess.
the project, no, we've had a relationship with Hunt Engineers
Got
for,
it, so
well,
you're just kind of like a.
yes,
continuation. Yes.
continue relationship,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Sorry,
That's fine,
you know where I'm coming from.
yes.
Just trying to figure out how we get it, so it sounds like you're in, so good.
Appreciate your understanding.
What's that? Oh, I know how it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody
It's a
else?
Service agreement, basically, right? And, sorry, you're the.
We're with
construction-
campus,
you're
so
construction
we do the
management, right?
construction management.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and we've had a continued relationship also.
Yeah, we know you guys, yeah. Awesome. But, yeah, so bidding, you're gonna be bidding out.
We'll
multiple
procure the whole
projects.
project, yeah, we put everything out to public bid.
Yep.
We may study some state contracting and some cooperative bid opportunities, but it all has to be, you know, per municipal law.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about how, it's no taxes, but that's covered, it looks like.
Yeah,
We're getting it, it's paid for.
that's correct.
Responsible savings from the district plus the state aid.
Yeah.
And there's one more comment.
Yes.
Should not use the word steam room when you talk about that thing?
So, a lot of times it's
Sound-
STEM,
these are
Say
songs.
STEM, yeah, yes,
but
stay in there.
STEM.
people like to add the A for art a lot
Yeah.
of times.
No,
Right.
she said steam room. A lot of people think that's a.
Sauna.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Well, Kevin, remember, we also had
We
steam,
took
was our
steam
heat
out of that
in
building
2006.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted
yeah.
them in an innovation space.
Yes.
I just still have a question. So,
But you are right.
is there any cooling or not on the elementary school?
We
So
looked,
Is it a hydronic system, whatever?
Both are hydronic, but they don't have a dual pipe.
So it's not cooling.
There'll be cooling in the new spaces, like
Yeah,
the,
We're gonna be air conditioning, the STEM labs and the office suites,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but not
but
throughout
it's
the
not a
building.
building-wide AC.
Yeah, I know.
And the,
I feel like it tries to, cool, what is it doing? Is it running like, reject, it's like, I don't know what it,
the current system pulls fresh air, but there's no cooling capacity through the classroom.
Crack the window.
Yeah.
It's only like the first week of school that's miserable, and after that,
A little bit in September and sometimes in end of May and June.
yeah.
This project you did start with looking at.
we
the
started
cost
looking
for
at
conditioning.
air conditioning for both buildings, and it just, we weren't able to do roofs and boilers and everything else, so, yeah.
In the last project though, with the, or 2 projects ago with the middle school UV replacements, they're set up for cooling coils.
Yeah.
So they could be, it's a future add-on.
Yeah, there you go, right.
Yep. Well, if you get home on the ride home, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email. I'll be happy to answer them. All right, thank you for coming.